always meant to fall. You know me, you know me. 'Cause mirror, mirror on the wall, I didn't even drop the ball. Just don't use or abuse me, no, no. Mirror on the wall, was I always meant to fall? You said don't go down without a fight. Well, that's bittersweet in hindsight. Mirror, let me know, why don't they let me go? 'Cause we're all starting to feel like the fears gripped hold. Twisted by the vision through the lens of lost souls. It's all for sure. Addicted to the memory of a story not being told. Mirror, mirror on the wall, was I always meant to fall? You know me, you know me. 'Cause mirror, mirror on the wall, I didn't even drop the ball. Just don't use or abuse me, no, no. Mirror, they've let me down. All these outstretched hands, well, they're keeping me on the ground. She asked me why, but the answers lie inside. Don't trust in me, I only see skin deep. This fears gripped hold. Twisted by the vision through the lens of lost souls. It's all for sure. Addicted to the memory of a story not being told. See through me, you can't see through me. 'Cause you only see what you want to see. This fears gripped hold. Twisted by the vision through the lens of lost souls. It's all for sure. Addicted to a memory of a story not being told.
So Mirror Mirror, we probably recorded this nearly a year prior to COVID initially, is that right?
Aye.
About a year before COVID, and we sat on it for, well, this whole time, nearly 2 years, and then about 2 or 3 months ago we decided to totally reproduce it. So a friend of ours, Adam Warrington from the band Youngblood, he was home, obviously not touring, and we reproduced it. We had a bit of feedback in the past from other songs and that in particular, and I think one of the ones was the chorus wasn't up to standard, so that was kind of the main part to kind of go after there.
Yeah, it was one of the most, like, the more and more we release music, record music, you work with loads of different people, right, and like loads of different producers, like recording the engineers and stuff like that, but you learn so much. And one of the things that we learned early on is that you can't be too, like, you can't just say this is mine, nobody else can touch it, because if you're too precious on the song then you lose quite a lot of what can actually the song can evolve into. And Mirror Mirror was one, it was like kind of just the same all the way through it. You couldn't really tell it had a chorus, right? That was the main feedback we got, but we were doubled down. We were like, nah, that's what we wanted. But then we went away, we've recorded a few songs since, and we were like, you know what, we should be challenging ourselves here, especially songwriting. I write all the songs, but I was like, nah, let's incorporate that, because it's a common theme, so let's see what we can do. And that's when we reached out to Adam, and he was like, it could do with a chorus. And then it wasn't like we just sent it to him and then he sent it back and it was all done. He actually came, we reworked the song, we reworked elements using the stuff we'd recorded, and then it was just kind of when we got to that point we were like, oh no, that sounds so much better than what we were actually going to release. So we were chuffed with the outcome, and it's like we've been buzzing to like release it, like, but just because obviously like it's so hard, obviously because of the pandemic and stuff like that, to gauge the reaction you're going to get. But for us, this is like a real stepping stone to get into the sound that we've been chasing for the last wee while. So, but yeah, no, we love it. So hopefully folk like it as well. So I think a lot has changed, right? Where actually a lot more of the focus used to be on gigging, and we've had to kind of change the focus to more around the press attributed to things like singles. And actually it makes you kind of delve deeper into that world where actually it was a bit of a black art before. Like, and so for us getting back to gigging again, it's really like the best way to describe it is we had a gig and it was at Howden Park Centre in Livingston, and it was for a live stream. So for us, it was kind of like there's been a lot of live stream gigs, and when you're doing a live stream gig for anybody who's done one, you're not second guessing yourself, but you're very conscious that everything is being recorded, right? So you have to make sure it's the best version. But what that sometimes means is you're a little bit more contained because you know that the sound that you're after is exactly what you need it to sound like. Whereas at a gig, you know what I mean, you let loose and you speak to people, and that's really quite weird but then the more you get used to it, the challenge is how do you get good at doing that. But as we kind of went back to gigging and we had that show, there was about 30 to 40 people allowed in, and you can't see them, right? And I know that's daft because it's hard to see people anyway when you're on stage, but the only time you really see them is they were seated and the light goes on them and you're kind of like, are you enjoying this? Like, and I know that's really weird, but see, as a band, you feed off how people are enjoying the gig, and like that's the part that you're almost learning again, that actually you feed off the energy that the crowd brings. But it's so hard to do that when if they're feeling restricted, where they're sitting down and kind of watching you, you're like, do you actually like hate us? Or are you enjoying what we're doing? And then folk come up after, that was class, you know, brilliant. But it is really hard to kind of find that middle ground of like letting yourself loose, but then also remembering that, you know what I mean? So, but I mean, the only thing is for us, it's back and we're getting back to gigging, and it is brilliant. The high that you get after doing something like that lasts so long, and you just want to go straight back gigging again. So we're just glad, but it has changed quite significantly.
I think the best way to describe it's what you're touching on there. It's like a footballer coming back from fitness from an injury. So they might be fit, but they're not quite match fit. And it's almost like we are ready to go, but we're probably not quite gig ready yet. We need to probably have a couple of gigs under our belt just to get into the groove, and just, like Michael said, you just feed off the crowd again. We've not gigged for almost 2 years now, like, properly, so not really gigged at all as a band, to be honest. Maybe 4 or 5 gigs as a band, so we've still got a lot of learning to do in that aspect. So, but at the same time, just absolutely buzzing to get back on stage. It's definitely, I think it's probably the one thing that people will always comment on with every single is artwork's class. So yeah, we've always stuck with the same designer on that one, a good friend of ours, so big shout out to him. He's done another class job for Mirror Mirror, but yeah, it's definitely something. It's almost like an identity, and what he does when he creates the artwork is he'll listen to the single or the song that we're releasing, and then he'll kind of visualize how that sounds in terms of a piece of art. So yeah, it's a good way of doing it. I love the artwork. So
see as well, like going back to that kind of theme, like hopefully with us, is that whenever you give a brief, right, you're like, this is what we're kind of after, but he's an artist, right? So it's called False Joy. You can follow him on Instagram, right? His artwork's phenomenal. But we're kind of like, you design it, you do it, because you know better than us. And we will then come back and say, that's brilliant. Or if it's not, then, which it never has been bad. But like, we're not trying to micromanage that, because you end up with something that isn't quite good enough. I mean, it's something that you've manufactured. And look, don't get me wrong, but we done that when with the logo. He done the logo. And what we were actually asking for versus what he'd done, we were like, oh, that's not good. And then we took a step back and went, but what he's done is class and we love it. So let's just double down and stick with him. And every rendition of the artwork so far has been like phenomenal. But whenever we send it in the group chat when he's done it, we're like, how cool is that? Like, it is. It's like, I mean, we love it, and it's all that kind of aspect of like, we totally understand that what we're doing is hopefully people enjoy what we do and do enjoy the artwork and the kind of the process that goes into creating the music and the artwork. And we're not just doing it willy nilly. We do genuinely think about it. But for us, we make music we like, and we get stuff artwork that we like, that we would actually be like, that's quality, and it's good. We're really lucky to have found someone like Scott who can do that.
Yeah, I think the only thing that we've maybe missed is a lot of people have always asked about getting merchandise like t-shirts and other things with the artwork on it, and we've only ever had one variation of t-shirt out, so it's probably something that we'll look to target next, because I would personally wear. I hate wearing my own stuff, like band stuff, but his artwork I would wear. I think it's that good.
be alright. Just follow the music, let it lead you straight to my arms, to my heart. No more happily ever after. You wrote our names in different paths. Come on, you know where you followed some music and it led you away from my arms. Why weren't you there from the start? Where were you when I needed you there? Well, you weren't by my side. Well, tell me how that's fair. Where were you when I needed you there? Well, you weren't by my side. Now listen when I say to you this ain't hide and see. You said you loved me once, now I'm obsolete. This ain't hide and see. This ain't some game that we can be. Stood there forever laughing and smiling. I looked into your eyes and I lost my mind, but it was worth it, and I would do it again just to touch you and breathe in your skin. You gotta let me in. Can you be lonely and in love? Never meant to leave you hung up, but you let me slide, never let me inside. Oh, I'm still with you. Oh, we were reckless and in love, but we grew up so out of touch. No matter what there's been on the days in between, I still love you. But where were you when I needed you there? Oh, you weren't by my side. Well, tell me how that's fair. Where were you when I needed you there? Oh, you weren't by my side. Now listen when I say to you this ain't hide and see. You said you loved me once, now I'm obsolete. Saying hi and seek, saying some game that we can be. So basically with the Euros, right, whenever you, as a band, like, you never really know, like, should you just kind of stick in your lane, right? But then it's just a bit of fun. We were like, I think it was the Wednesday, the week before, right, the Euros were starting, and I remember I was at the gym and I texted, I was like, should we do something for the Euros? It's like, should we just try and do something? Because like, we live in this digital age where, and this is the thing, right, where people say you can stick it online and it's there forever. No, it's not. You can delete it. You can just pretend it never existed, it never happened, and then fine, we'll just pretend, no, we talk about it. And so we're like, well, why not? Just a bit of fun, we'll see what we come up with. So I'd text Alan and I was like, well, well, it was in the group chat, and he was like, well, bits and pieces, and I was like, right. I was thinking he will be coming. I was like, why don't I go for a wee kind of mash up of the two? Now, as a brief, that's horrendous, right? So on paper, that's going to sound naff. And I was like, I'll see what I can do. And then literally, I think it was a Wednesday at midday, and then by 6, 7 o'clock, I was like, boys, these are, what do you think? And they were like, oh no, we're into that. And I think on the Thursday we went away, we recorded the rest of the parts. You couldn't make it because you were busy on the Thursday.
Yep.
But we got like the bass, we got the backing vocals and stuff done in Joe's flat. And then on the Friday we'd sent it to our mate Liam Dock to mix it. And we had it good to go on the Friday, submitted up to Spotify and the likes, and we were just like, let's just see what happens. But it was just because like it's just a bit of fun, and like we all support football, like, you know what I mean? It's we're all Celtic fans, and like we were supporting Scotland at the Euros, so we're like, we might as well commemorate it, and also just try and not take ourselves too serious. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't do that because I'm a serious musician. No, we're no. Like, you know what I mean? We want to be doing things like that, and like actually, I went down to London, and like half of the boys I was with, they had it on their playlists and stuff, and it's quality. Like we're sitting there, like we're singing "We'll Be Coming," and it's like that's me singing that. You know what I mean? And I'm also blitzed singing along with it, but it's like it's a bit weird. But it was really, really good. And obviously, like a lot of the stuff we do, we put it on Instagram TV and you share it and stuff. But copyrights, like this, it's like scourge of the earth. Like it's just any day they're like pulling it down and like, no, you can't do that, you can't share that, that's ours. And we'd put it up, and it was like this contains music by like GBX with George Bowie, like it contains with the bits and pieces. But I played it, I learned it and played it, and I was like, well, it's not like we've ripped the sample off. I actually learned it, got a synth, played it, and they were like, they pulled it down. So on Twitter, Zach was just like, George Bowie's a grass, like he's put the boot in on us. He's told us to the Instagram police and that, and like just not really hinking in it near. But some of the followers we have on Twitter just took it genuinely verbatim, and we never noticed. We never thought. We just thought everybody knew we were taking the mic, and then it was like a week later, anything that George Bowie was putting up, it was just like, aye. You weren't laughing when you phoned the Instagram police on Dictator, and like he was just like, and he was like, what? And so then he talked about it on the radio, and he was just like, he never played the song, but he did. He put it. He was talking about it on the radio and was like, oh, some band, that Dictator band, telling me I'm a grass and stuff. And we're like, we doubled down though. Yes, a grass. Right.
That was with Hide and Seek. Aye, that's right, Hide and Seek. So prior to Moonlight, we'd done Hide and Seek, so we've performed that one today. So yeah, we decided to donate any profits we made in that song to our local Women's Aid. So didn't think anything of it in terms of like challenging for number one. So we put it out, and obviously for the week before we were telling people the importance of why we're doing it. And then come release day, I think we checked it by midday, and we're like, boys, we're like number 10 here, this is class, like who would have known? And then a couple of hours later we're slowly climbing, and then we were like right behind Noel Gallagher's at number 2 at one point, and you're like, wow. So it was a good buzz. Never charted before. It was the first time I've really made a point of it, and it was all for a good cause. Who could have said we could have got number one that day if it wasn't for Noel Gallagher releasing a song? You know, we've just not got the same backing as him. But yeah, it was class, and we just actually got a total of the money raised. So I think we raised about £160 it was, just from that release. It doesn't sound like a lot in terms of like challenging for number one, but when you're, you know, donate, I think Apple Music take a cut of the proceeds, so every single bit of profit we got went straight to our local Women's Aid, which was fantastic.
So I think for us, looking at it, right, there's so many artists that we really love, and that's one of the kind of common themes with the Scottish music scene, is that there's no sense of like we're trying to do better than them, or like we hope that we do better than them, and they're rubbish and stuff like that. And that's quite, it's just like when you're younger and stuff, some people are in that mentality and you can tell. And like just like the main bit of advice I'm sure everybody's been told is just don't be a dick, right? Don't be like that to anybody, because actually if you take a step back and listen to the music people are creating, it's amazing. And it should never ever be in a position where you feel like you need to be better or jealous of someone. And I think that's really, I don't know, it feels like in the Scottish music scene that it is like that. It's very close knit, and everybody's like welcomes you in and like happily support each other, and like, oh, we've got a gig, do you want to play with us, you want to come down, we're doing a gig in London, you want to come down with us. And that's amazing. And I think one of the things we've noticed is that a lot of our kind of friends and stuff like who are in bands and who we've known previously, they have went on to do massive things, like the biggest of things. Like you look at Lewis Capaldi, you look at the Snuts, right? A #1 album, Lewis Capaldi, pretty much world domination. But you're sitting there going, like, that's possible. And I think that's the big thing for me. It's like obviously life's about perspective and stuff, but that perspective of, now you can do that. Here's the work you've got to do to get it in, but it's possible. Yeah, you need to be lucky and all that sort of stuff, but it's not just potluck. It's not like you turn up like way back in the day where like Oasis like turned up and got signed and they're like, I think King Tut's, and that's brilliant, and like that was it for then on in. They also would have been putting in the miles. You know what I mean? It's not like they just their first ever gig they got signed. And I think that's what's kind of lost, is that actually we've seen the work that goes on behind the scenes and the things that you have to get involved in. And like if you're aspiring to be a professional musician, right, it's not just turn up and play and go home. There's a lot of things, especially if you're in a band. Like we've talked about artwork, we've talked about like the PR campaigns you've got to run, marketing, like online marketing, and we've all kind of segmented that out. And I genuinely think that's came from the knowledge that's been kind of given to us from other bands on the scene, and they're not hiding it away from you. It's not like secretive where they're like, we're not telling you. It's like, oh no, you just do this, and that to me is part and parcel of why the community is the way it is. Because you want to see bands succeeding, and that's a brilliant community to be a part of, where people want to see you do well instead of, well, we want to leave you in a trail of dust. That's the biggest thing for me.
Back when we were younger in previous bands, you'd almost see it as a threat when other bands would release a song or they were doing a gig. You're almost thinking like, oh, that's taking a crowd away from you, and you almost kind of see it as like a rivalry. You can only support one band, whereas you get a bit older and wiser and you're like, that's a lot of rubbish. I like loads of bands. I like loads of local bands. You can like more than one song and more than one band. So yeah, you kind of just get a bit wiser and you're like, we're all here to help each other, because if one person does well in your area, then it's a knock-on effect. You're going to get eyes in looking what's going on in that, like you said, the Snuts, Lewis Capaldi. We've got other great artists coming out, Mark Sharp and the Bicycle Thieves, Luke Lavolpe. It's going to explode eventually. It's already exploding. So, you know, when one does well, we all benefit from it. And just sharing knowledge and hints and tips goes a long way. I think just with West Lothian, we've not really got a music venue. We've not really got a scene as such. So we need to look out for each other. We need to kind of help each other out, because your bands in Glasgow and Edinburgh, there's a huge scene there. You know, there's countless venues, countless bands. So you could get lost in amongst that, whereas West Lothian, it's just, you know, we kind of look out for each other. So I definitely think that helps.
So for me, there is one that supersedes everything before we get into the list, and it's not that like anybody else isn't as good, but what they've released recently, right? So it's a band called Parley Amo from Glasgow, and like honestly, we've been like sharing every tune they've been releasing. I think the last 2 or 3 in the group chat. I've listened to them before, but they've taken like a bit of a shift, and the new stuff is absolutely class. Like it's like Paul and Barry. It's like like if you can go and listen to Parley Amo, right? And there's Life on TV and Paul and Barry. Those 2 songs specifically blow your mind, because they're just the vibe. And see, for us as a band, we're chasing after a sound, and we were like, that's what we're after as well. And just hearing it was brilliant. It was like everything that we like just put into one pot. But they've been like genuinely astounding. Other acts as well. So a local band for us called Sylvie, and we're kind of good friends with them and stuff. They actually rehearsed not too far away from us, and they came out with their first song not too long ago. We've known them before, played a few gigs and stuff like that, but it's just the 2 of them. And they released the first song, and the production on the song was phenomenal. And obviously, like the more you get involved in this sort of stuff, you really, really appreciate when people have taken a lot of time and care in it, and you're like, that sounds amazing. And everything that they're releasing, they've got a song coming out next week as well. I would check out Sylvie, Parley Amo. I'll let you name a few before I just go through the full list, and you're sitting there going, like,
so genuinely, they were the 2 that I had at the top of my list. So Michael stole them, but no, I can't like echo that enough. Like 2 fantastic bands, and we could probably sit here for hours, kind of just talking about like our like favourite bands, local bands as well. We've already touched on Mark Sharp and the Bicycle Thieves, a previous guest on a State of Mind. So yeah, they've done us massive favours in the past. They kind of gave us our first opportunity in the live shows. Luke LaVolpe, and then one through in the Kingdom of Fife. I've got PG Carletta. So he's just released a tune called Bonnie Tune, and he's a fantastic sort of supporter of new music in Scotland. So definitely other ones to kind of keep an eye on there.
I danced with the moon last night under the haze of his light. Intoxicated, we done as love